Okay, I'm John Miller, Deputy Commissioner for Intel and Counterterrorism and Public Information. We're going to brief you on some preliminary information as this investigation is going on. You'll hear from Commissioner Keechant Sewell, followed by Mayor Adams, followed by Jana Lieber, Chairman of the MTA. We also have Chief Jason Wilcox from the Detective Bureau, who will be able to answer some limited questions about the investigation, and Chief Kathy O'Reilly, Chief of the Transit Bureau. So, Police Commissioner Sewell.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I'm Police Commissioner Keechant Sewell. Joining me today is the Mayor Eric Adams, Jana Lieber from the MTA, Edward Caban, First Deputy Commissioner, Kathleen O'Reilly, my Chief of Transit, and Assistant Chief Jason Wilcox of the Detective Bureau. I want to remind you that this information is preliminary. This case is ongoing. Earlier today at approximately 9:30 in the morning, uniformed officers who were patrolling the mezzanine area of the 42nd Street Times Square train station were alerted by train passengers that a male had just pushed a woman onto the southbound Q train tracks. Upon arrival at the scene, officers discovered a female under the train with severe trauma to her body. EMS responded and pronounced the victim deceased at scene. An investigation revealed that a woman was standing on the southbound RQ train platform when she was suddenly pushed onto the train tracks as she was standing waiting for the train. This incident was unprovoked, and the victim does not appear to have had any interaction with the subject. After the incident, the subject fled the scene but turned himself into Transit District 2 a short time later. The identity of the deceased is being withheld pending proper notification to her family. What I can provide to you now is that she is a 40-year-old female who is a New York City resident. This was a senseless, absolutely senseless act of violence. Our investigators are actively investigating this crime, and our uniformed officers will remain vigilant throughout the subway system. I'll turn it over to Mayor Adams for his comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. A life is lost in this city. A woman lost her life due to a senseless act of violence. And when you look at this incident, it really highlights why the Commissioner and I rolled out a very significant plan of dealing with, one, crime in our system, but also the mental health crises that we are facing. The Chief of Transit Police actively implemented that plan, and we're going to continue to grow that plan. But we need help from the outside as well. There is a law called Kendra's Law. Far too often, our judges are reluctant to institute that law. Those who cannot take care of themselves being obligated to receive the proper medical treatment that they need so we won't create a dangerous environment. We want to continue to highlight that, how imperative it is that people receive the right mental health services, particularly on our subway system. To lose a New Yorker in this fashion would only continue to elevate the fears of individuals not using our subway system. Our recovery is dependent on the public safety in this city and in this subway system. We can do that with the right balance, a balance of safety and a balance of proactively giving people the assistance they need when they're in mental health crisis. We're going to do our part, but we're asking all of our partners to join us in ensuring that we can have a safe subway system. Our hearts goes out to the families who were impacted. This is a traumatic experience to enter this system with the hope of reaching your destination, only to come to the conclusion that your loved one lost his or her life due to a tragic moment such as this. We're going to continue to do everything that's possible to make our subway system safe. But again, we're calling on all of our partners, from lawmakers to law enforcement, to DAs, to judges, to ensure those who need mental health assistance receive that. That is how we're going to ensure that not only our streets above ground and below ground are safe places for New Yorkers.
Thank you, Commissioner Sewell, and thank you, Mayor Adams. Thank you for your leadership in addressing this very, very serious problem New York is facing. This is a sad day. A New Yorker was going about her business right in the heart of our city, in the heart of our subway system in Times Square, and she lost her life. This is unconscionable. This is unacceptable. It has to stop, as the mayor said. This is not the first time this has happened. There have been some of these high-profile subway pushings in the latter half even of 2021. New Yorkers are coming back. They're emerging from the pandemic. They need the subways to go back to work, to go to appointments, to get to school, to visit with loved ones. This is how New York works. But they're not coming back if they're not comfortable using the subway, and they shouldn't have to worry about somebody attacking them, somebody with mental health issues, God forbid, murdering them. New Yorkers need a safe system, period, end. We need to have an aggressive program of action to deal with people who may be experiencing mental health issues, as the mayor has highlighted just now. I am thrilled that the mayor and the governor called out this issue, even in the last week, and that they have initiated actions to provide additional mental health and homeless services to people who need them in the subways. We're grateful to the governor for her leadership, for recognizing that specific issue, again, people with mental health issues in the system, and to Mayor Adams for joining and leading, as I said, in the first week of his term. The police commissioner is, as she pointed out and was pointed out, deploying more police officers onto platforms, onto trains, coming from the topside deployments into the subway systems, and we are tremendously encouraged by that. Incidents like that incident we had today demonstrate how critical these strategies are to protecting New Yorkers and to reassuring them as they come back to normal life. But we're going to need to make progress quickly. We need to make progress quickly. We need action. It's underway under the leadership of this governor and this mayor. It's up to all of us in government to solve the problem. We're not telling New Yorkers it's your problem to avoid this risk. We have to solve it. That is underway. Thank you, Governor Hochul. Thank you, Mayor Adams.
All right, we can take some limited questions. Carol?
So who is the person who turned himself in? Would you describe him as deranged? Was he off his meds? What would you say about him?
That's Assistant Chief Jason Wilcox, Detective Bureau.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So just to reiterate what the police commissioner said, a quick timeline of events. About 9:31 this morning, we have our person of interest on video on the platform downstairs. At about 9:39 hours, we know approximately that our victim is pushed in front of the train. Between that gap of 9:31 and 9:39, there's another encounter that our person of interest has with another female rider who is not Asian. He approaches her, he gets in her space, she gets very raised up, very alarmed. She tries to move away from him, and he gets close to her, and she feels that he was about to physically push her onto the train. As she's walking away, she witnesses the crime where he pushes our other victim in front of the train. This witness, we have this witness. She reports it to us at a later time and place. So that's what happens about 9:39 hours. Subsequent to that, right before 10 a.m., about 9:53 a.m., a male walks into Transit District 2 on Canal Street and reports to the officers inside that he had pushed a woman in front of the train. He's immediately stopped and taken into custody. That male has been subsequently brought to the Midtown South Detective Squad, where an active investigation is still unfolding with detectives from Manhattan South, Midtown South, Manhattan Transit, and obviously many other investigators and investigative support resources are being put into this case. So that's where we are right now. We're working very closely with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. At this time, charges are pending. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
Would you describe him as deranged or off his meds, or how would you, because everybody's talking about mental
So,
health.
no, well, he's a male, he's an adult. He does have a background, he is known to us. So we do have experience with him, he's known to the criminal justice system. But in terms of anything other than that, he does have, in the past, 3 emotionally disturbed encounters with us that we have documented. But anything beyond that is still being investigated and unfolding. I'm sorry. So, again, we're still investigating what's his lifestyle is. We know he has prior addresses in the Bronx, but we do believe he also is. Right now, the investigation is telling us he might be homeless.
Miles, hang on. Miles.
Mr. Marshall,
We cannot. We're not releasing his name at the moment.
the suspect has an extensive criminal history, including a warrant out for his arrest for absconding parole. Has there been any police contact since he's been released on parole? And then for the district attorney behind you, how do you plan to prosecute this case? It says it's before you.
So let me reiterate. Right now, as we're standing here, we are working hand in hand very closely with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to determine what this individual will be charged with. So to your point, he does have a criminal background. He was on parole at one time. He did have a parole warrant, and we're still looking into that.
For the district attorney,
Hang on.
Mr. Mayor, just about a week ago, you talked about the transit plan, safety plan, which include SOS teams to help with mental illness and to help with the homeless population. And you also said officers would come from up top during their normal patrol, rotate down. Is that going on now? Is that happening today?
Yes, and we're going to let the chief give you an overview of what took place at this station. And, far too often when you have initiatives of this capacity, we see an incident like this, but we really don't acknowledge how many incidents we prevent. Far too often, when an incident like this happens, the number that we prevent, they don't get accounted for. And so the chief will go through what we're doing. She immediately mobilized a plan after receiving it from the police commissioner, and it was executed here, and she'll give you the background on that. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, like the Commissioner said, we deployed patrol units from the Patrol Services Bureau into transit. We have approximately 1,000 additional officers working in transit, but those who work in PSB throughout the city, the 77 precincts throughout the city, have been doing directed patrols in transit. So far this year, they've done 6,993 directed patrols in the subway. We had a robust plan for this station today. We had 6 officers assigned to it. There were 2 officers on the southbound platform to the southern end when this incident occurred. We had officers doing TOMS, or train order maintenance sweeps, at this station earlier. Also, the Midtown South Precinct did a directed at this station today. We had officers riding the trains, 1 and 6 on one side of the platform and 1 and 4 on the other side of the platform. So we had a very robust plan in place today. Unfortunately, these incidents do occur, but they're rare. But this one is very harrowing and disturbing, and it was unpreventable by our officers.
Okay, right there.
My question is for Mayor Adams. These subway attacks seem to keep happening. So what's the concrete plan moving forward on how to prevent this?
Many of you know I was a transit cop, and you had push-ins during those days as well. For the last 30 years, we've had incidents like this in the subway system. We rolled out that plan, a comprehensive plan. We're going to continue to evaluate that plan and execute that plan. But I want to really emphasize, as the chief just laid out, the plan we announced, we executed it immediately. And we often look at a case like this, and we don't really acknowledge how many lives we saved because we executed that plan. We're going to continue to modify, we're going to continue to enhance in the days to come until we can ensure every passenger on this system is safe. We are not going to lose focus on the safety on the subway system, and we're going to continue to be committed to that.
Right there.
I just have a question about the victim. I know you don't want to release her identity yet, but we have heard that it's possibly an Asian female and that there may be possible hate crime involved. Do we have any indication why she was selected, or was it completely random?
I can confirm that the victim is Asian, but as I stated before, we have information that he may have approached someone before her and that person is not Asian. So that's under investigation at this time.
It's not being investigated as a possible hate crime at this time.
We are investigating all avenues, and if that changes, we'll let you know.
Okay, in the red.
Is there any indication that the suspect may have been acting irrationally when he was on the platform, given any indication that something like this might happen for officers maybe to see and flag down, or was there nothing like that?
So as Commissioner Miller said, obviously the investigation is still unfolding. The recovery of video, which is sometimes very rich in the transit system, is being actively collected and will be reviewed. So to that point, we are looking at that.
Okay, back to Carol.
Could we hear from the DA on how you plan to proceed with this case, please?
Certainly. This is a tragedy. My heart goes out to the family. I echo what the commissioner and the mayor said in terms of our partnership, working together, the district attorney's office and the NYPD. Not going to go into potential charges, but New Yorkers deserve to be and must feel safe on the subway. And this is a top priority matter for my office. We're working hand in hand with the NYPD.
Do we have to worry that he's going to walk out of jail overnight?
No.
Mayor, I just have a question. You mentioned that, this previous plan that you put forth recently. So what's your message to New Yorkers today? Are we upping this now after this incident, or are you just going to continue to enforce what you've announced?
We're going to continue to move forward with our plan. We're going to enhance our plan when it's needed. And as the chief just shared with me, this subject was only in this station for 9 minutes. Part of our plan is to be proactive and observe when someone is acting irrationally and reach out to our partners and notify them so we can come to the stations. I'm sorry.
So I'm just wondering because you mentioned, or someone mentioned, that the suspect has 3 prior incidents that are because mostly disturbed incidents. And then there's a lot of talk about mental health, but we're not calling people to disturbed. Why is that?
Because it's still actively investigated, being under investigation, and we don't want to be premature in doing so. We're going to look at the video, we're going to see his behavior, and we're going to make sure that when we classify it as such, that we're giving you accurate information. There was a history, as it was acknowledged. We want to make sure that in cases like this, that we can be more proactive if need be to identify and reach out to our partners, because the call is really to make sure people are getting their help before incidents like this takes place. But I got to really emphasize, we know of this incident, but we rarely know of the incidents we prevented because of the plan we instituted. And I believe our system is going to be safer because of the plan as we constantly enhance it. We must be safe on the system. I use the system. I use it a lot. And I want to make sure that passengers are safe.
Okay, we got time for 2 more. One right there.
This is for the MTA. It's a 2-parter. First, if you could speak to the train conductor in the aftermath of all of this, piloting this train. And number 2, as the chief had alluded to, she called it unpreventable. I guess my question is, do you believe the subway system is safe? Because while you may say these incidents are far and few between and rare, a lot of riders will tell you
Well, yeah, the NTA is safe, and we're fortunate that we have a partnership with the police department, which is only growing since the mayor, together with the governor, announced this new initiative last week. So number one, the system is safe. The statistics, actually, subway crime, broadly speaking, is way down. It's actually at a 30-year low, but we cannot accept, and we will not accept, these kinds of very scary, life-threatening incidents. And with the leadership of the governor and the mayor, there is a plan that is in action to really address it. As for the train operator, our hearts go out to the victim, obviously, but also to the train operator who has incredible trauma from having, unfortunately, been, experienced that moment when somebody was pushed in front of his train. He's been taken to the hospital. We, as an MTA family, always look after folks on our team who have been part of these traumatic incidents, and our hearts go out to him as well.
Okay, last question.
Hold on, John. Hold on, because this is very important. Because I don't want an improper classification or definition of what the chief stated. The chief did not and is not sending a signal that being a victim of a crime is inevitable and it's not controllable in our station. She has done an amazing job of keeping crime down in the system. She has done an amazing job. The numbers are clear, and they're public numbers. And she is clear on continuing to bring it down. We don't want one crime on our subway system. But we know that public safety is not only actual, but it's perceived. And when you have an incident like this, the perception is what we're fighting against. This is a safe system because of the job that the transit officers have carried out and what this chief has done in this system. We're going to continue to enhance to deal with the mental health crises that we have in our system. Far too many people are using the system as homes, for not getting the services they deserve, and not ensuring that the city is responding appropriately to them. So it's a partnership that we're developing. But there's one body of people that has not failed riders, and that is the men and women who are on this system every day. These transit officers who are assigned here, they have done an amazing job of dealing with crime. I must do the job with the commissioner of dealing with the perception and the failure of our mental health services. And that's not what the chief was saying, and we must be clear on that. The inevitability of being a victim of a crime is not going to be in our city, and we're going to ensure that that does not happen.
Okay, last question, Carol.
Without, again, giving the ID of the victim, can you simply say, was she going to work, or was she going to lunch, or going home? Can you say that without?
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Don't know that?
Was she with friends?
No. Thank you very much.
Before we depart, I think it's imperative that we have men and women here from the API community. I spoke with them this afternoon. I had a Zoom conference call with all of them, and I would like Grace Ming, the Congresswoman, to say a few words because this is a partnership that we're developing with our local electeds to deal with the perception that we are experiencing and the actualization of crimes. Grace?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Mayor Adams and your team for being in constant communication with us from early on this morning until right now, and we continue to have conversations. We recognize that this is a new administration. We recognize that this is something that many of our constituents and New Yorkers all over the city care about. I really want to thank and acknowledge Mayor Adams and his team for recognizing the importance of ensuring that our most vulnerable New Yorkers have the wraparound services that they need, from social services to mental health programs. A few months ago, we passed legislation in Congress, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. We are still pushing and waiting for implementation of this law because it will provide more resources for us here in New York to provide and to strengthen some of these services on the ground for people in our communities. We also want to make sure that we are working continuously to combat discrimination against anyone and everyone, and that includes the AAPI community. Too often, Asian Americans are seen as foreigners and people who are not truly American, and so we want to make sure that we are standing as a city against all discrimination. This has been a really tough year and a half for the Asian American community, but specifically in the last few weeks, we have seen attacks on a Sikh American cab driver, a Korean American man who was trying to be a good Samaritan and was attacked, a Korean American elderly woman in my district in Forest Hills just less than 36 hours ago, and today this Asian American woman victim. So I really wanted to thank the mayor for being in constant touch with all of us and our community groups, and also to my colleagues, some of whom are here today, Senator John Liu, Senator Hoylman, Assemblymember Ron Kim, Council members Chris Marte, Julie Wan, Linda Lee, and Sandra Ung, and I apologize if I left anyone out. Thank you.